All right, y'all, let's get into cirrhosis of the liver and that live golf game. That fog is settling in, and that Mars, that red planet, is set in as everybody is on the back of the donkey, and he's with that Balaam, and he's going to be set out in that grass, and that grass is that sod. And that Elon has been placed for that new heaven and earth, as we've been given a window and such, and different things are overlaying. But we're going to get into that jaundice, gastrointestinal, abdominal swelling, confusion, maybe the sodium and Gomorrah with that fatty liver, with the McDonald's diet or whatever that we're shown. And that's just like the world stage projection. If you believe this man is drinking this many Diet Cokes and eating all this fast food and all this other stuff and have a family that eats, it's like, it doesn't make any sense, y'all. Okay, so this is to brand the people and to brand the beast and to get them further into that lowest chakra, because when the birth is upon us, as for Eve, and Eve overlaps Adam in one way, and then Adam overlaps Eve. So as these things are intermingling, it's going to give this final product of, well, in the garden, with division, death, and hell over you, as the Lord God, the heat, the sun, projects his world upon you. And that's where you have to go into like detox mode, and all the heaven is opened up per se on the world stage. In this world, you live in this little bit of visible light, okay, that has this side of darkness on it and this side of darkness on it. But they come together in our world, okay? So this is where the worlds collide, or the light and dark, or whatever. Like, there's the two darknesses, the rulers of darkness, meet in this measure of visible light that we live in, all right? And as we live in this visible spectrum of, or whatever, okay, everything's getting out of bounds as the light stretches, and when it stretches, the man stretches, all these things are going together. And that's when you see the prism. And then the prison is when you have to go back into your cell, your home. You see all these things upon the earth, the parasite and all these things. It's coming where you're into Mars and you're going into that new heaven and earth. We are, the old earth doesn't know they're in Mars yet or whatever. So they're going to freak out when Mars lands on them. Mars attacks in a way. So when that red planet that we live in, when that cirrhosis comes to divide the Red Sea, this is when that red rider is going to catch up to that white horse rider, which is the pure consciousness, that virgin state. And when they get to that virgin state, and then that's when it crosses over with Combs or Epstein or whatever, that virgin state, the virgins ate and all those things. And then you got the Dawn doing this double jack off dance and those kinds of things. Okay, so if y'all don't know that's what y'all doing, you're doing a masturbating dance. All right, because he's the fisher of men and he stands on the banks and he's got those hook, lines, and sinkers. And y'all just entered that first round, waking up on that birth of Eve that is bringing that Adam. Well, did that really just happen on here? Did they wake up and blah, blah, blah? And then you got a double whammy just to hit you left and right. All right, but it happens big out here and then a little bit on that Trump side, and then that ties into the Back to the Future overlay with the Trump Tower and the Biff Tannen and all that stuff. The jaundice, the John, the Juan, that's the border. They cross the border at the Bourbon ram sacrifice on Eve. Anyways, that border jump, the ISIS is tying into the ISIS Ra L, and that's the Israel. Wanda Fuca connects to the fine china. That connects to the Last Supper, and that's been plating up. We'll probably be doing that year stance where you got July to July, and that 7-11, the 7-4, all those things are a big place this year. The 5-25, the 5-2-25, the May Day, all that stuff is a huge time frame this coming months, unless they do a jump forward for January. But these things for January are going to stack for February, because February is the Christmas time frame for Roman calendar. Anyways, so these are the clocks and such, and then the shooting and the queens, that's being put in a check in those things as the queen and king come. And the king is tied to the king is cash. So that's all going to be checked as the petrodollar. The oil exports is going to be taken off the marker. It was already done. We just haven't felt the repercussions of it. So the repercussions are part of drum roll for that reveal. Either way. So the Taiwan is the Wandis, or the jaundice, and that's the yellow, all right, the yellow skins, and the chips are for the poker, and the chips are in all your cars and all that kinds of stuff. So all these things are going to stack, and then that woman in Travail is where Satan and the devil and Jesus and Moses and all these things are going to be giving birth inside of us. That's where the serpent ear comes, and the rod, the Moses, the cirrhosis, all these things come, and within man, and we are either to go forward or go out. And then Sodom is where the Lord was killed, it tells us, and the Lord of Lords is within you, who's the Jesus, who's that light, and we are all light beings. And operating in this light, this is a body of light. This is just condensed light held together with water and magnetism. The magnetism is the oxygen you breathe, which is paramagnetic, and that's how we stick to this world and stick to each other. And when the light comes in, it attracts this world to us and makes what we need. And then we are the darkness. Okay, the sun is inside us. That light that thinks for us, that gives us electricity, all these things. That light is inside of us, and it has limits and bounds. And it's bound by the darkness within us. Okay? So, where every color, we absorb all these colors and we reflect the light out. And this kind of can tie us to this visible light spectrum, where like some people are connected to this side of the ruler and some are connected to this side of the ruler, and then we're intermingled with these lights through hair, eyes, whatever. And then either way, the gastrointestinal, the testinal, and that's the cross, being nailed up to the cross, and the Tron in for the Justin Sun and the garden and all these stuff coming over with the bricks, and the tethered dollar, my wife tells me, is used in China mainly, and what the goal is to bring what we made in America over to China, because that's when a bunch of money is going to be made, and that's part of the new heaven and earth setting up in one way. But either way, so that's the bleeding, that's the sheep, and that ding ding ding, this is end times, let's go live in the woods and do all these things or whatever. So this is where we might see some of the overlays. We're seeing overlays now with the projection that we watch, but this is where the people feel like they're going to be living in a movie, okay? And they're going to see these things upon the earth, and they're going to be like, this is end times, we got to say no, we got to go out and blah blah blah, and this is where they're given over to the image and whatever, and they're actually going to go live out for 3, 4, 5, 8, whatever years as this thing unfolds, or depending where you're at on the 10 worlds, the 10 horns of the 7 lights, the 7 heads of the beast and such. If you're on the lowest world of hell, which is where most people operate, they have to get up to each world, and as each one of these years unfolds, in a matter of speaking, getting up to a pinnacle point, it's going to you're going to have a birth of one that's going to open up that stage. So one's going to cause some people to go live out early, or leave out early, and then come back and figure things out slowly and go through what everybody just went through, probably starting in the year 2000 or 2004, or whenever main stuff was hitting for getting that truth, or seeking for truth, or whatever. Before then, the people had to seek for truth in the library. So those kinds of people, how you can just think of it as this, like out of how many people in your city or society, how many of those people hang out in the library? And out of those people that hang out in the library, how many of them read this, that, and the other kinds of stuff, other than just some stupid ass novel? Okay, so there's very few people, if you actually think about whatever. And the abdominal swelling is part of that ballot, and the bowels, and the big Christmas ho ho ho, Saint Nicholas, and all that stuff. And the confusion is tied to the delusion and the religions, and the fusion energy and all those things that's coming for the new heaven and earth, and the people are given over to that petrodollar, that petro exchange, and we're not getting rid of that dollar. We're getting rid of that petrodollar. We went from the gold-backed dollar to a petro-backed dollar to a new dollar. Okay, so that's where things are changing, and the old world is not going ahead, while the old world may turn into some type of 12 tribe system or whatever, and then that's where you get the final test of things, and then we go into that so-called millennial reign, or the new heaven and earth. The millennial reign crossover would be maybe the 12 tribes coming together, and that crossover, and then get you into that 1,000 years of the Satan again, and then the Jesus and Satan, they'll be giving birth within each other as twins. So this is where the woman comes against the child, the Herod comes against the child to snag this beast and whatever, and it's working in a dual fashion, while one is there to take you into the next zone. The carnal and what's been placed and seared into the consciousness will try and take you back to that way. And that's where those people will be like, well, that's the Antichrist, that's the Antichrist. And they'll be like, they won't remember that Jesus taught that we're all the Christ. And we're all just the sons of God just as much as he is. And this religion of worshiping the begotten Son has been twisted to be used against them. And the God of this earth, so-called Satan, has created a law book and a rule book, and has twisted it and formed it, and used the light of so-called Jesus, and has brought him into bounds and confinement and boundaries, and then puts hate upon the feminine spirit, the woman, in different ways and fashions. So the woman now is in the worst position, because she has to choose between this light or this sun. So either way, we'll end it here because of time, and do the part 2.